It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
From the heart of Appalachia, located under a shopping mall near the city that moves mountains, you're listening to Here To Chew Bubblegum.
Nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Greetings.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Lockers.
And for those of you joining us on the podcast, we have a very special guest, Hollywood actor, Daniel Emery Taylor. Mr. Taylor, welcome to Here To Chew Bubblegum.
Well, thanks. And I didn't have bubblegum to begin with. I feel left out.
I didn't have any either.
I actually did when we were backstage, and I spit it out just a few minutes ago. Before we get started,
Hold on a second. Is that a hairless cat?
It is.
Oh my god!
With a sweater.
She runs the house.
With a sweater.
what's the cat's name?
It's called Roxy. Is the cat's name?
Roxy. Well, not getting off topic, and I hope he doesn't get mad for me saying this. I received a Christmas card from Bowling from the Trail, and a very lovely Christmas card. Thank you very much, Bowling, and Mrs. Cox. And he is surrounded by pussy in the photo. And I'm referring to cats, but they have hair. He has hairy cat. But it's a beautiful Christmas
Better
card.
about that one, Goose.
This is just going downhill.
Yeah.
No matter which way.
It is. I love you, Bowling. Thank you again. What I was going to say is, I know on your guys' format that I said, all four of you, or that I sent you, it says email. That was a mistake. We're not doing email until the first show in January, and it will be some of our friends that watch the show, tune into the show, listen to the show. I will be contacting you this week, and hopefully you can come on and read some email that we'll be playing in January. So just scratch that off your format. There is no listener email. This opening segment is a free for all here. We can just do whatever we want to.
That's careful, Goose.
Within limits, Dirtydan. Within limits. We actually did, have an email that I may let Bowling read it, this one, but somebody actually requested that, you know how we had the Office trivia game when we done the Office show, that we do another game with us three playing, and that Dirtydan, if he loses, he has to be shirtless an entire episode. So.
Well, that's fine.
Really? Okay. Well, you've not let me finish the rest of the email, but you've already agreed to it, so thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I'll take my shirt off now. I don't care.
Oh, well, the rest of the email involved peanut butter, barbed wire, and a midget. So
That sounds like a good Friday night. Come on.
A midget?
Hey, it didn't actually involve a midget or duct tape. So yes. Oh, okay. Yes, you have the questions, and I'm sorry I got your text right before. I will watch that video and text you back shit mess just as soon as we get done with the show. Daniel, for those of you that do not know Daniel Emery Taylor, he's his first major film was Return of the Swamp Thing, Road Trip. He was on the TV show In the Heat of the Night with Archie Bunker. And that was a TV show that my mom loved, my grandma loved. When I got older, I actually, liked it as well. in the movie Road Trip, he was part of the tour group. And I think you actually sat next to Ethan Saluppi, correct? Or in the same like role or what? You were close.
Yeah. And funny thing is I didn't by that point, because I was 19, 20 when we shot that. I had not seen any of the Kevin Smith movies, so I didn't know who Ethan was. Other than I recognized him, he had been on Boy Meets World as the son of professional wrestler Vader. But yeah, no, I didn't really know who Ethan was at the time, but he was a very, very nice guy, kind of quiet, kept to himself, but just a tremendous actor. I mean, just most of our scenes, kitty cat, most of our scenes were improvised, because Tom Green did not stick to a script very well. So
really?
It was mostly just us all riffing off each other, and man, Ethan could just turn it on and just come out with. I'm sorry, I've got a cat who is taking residence on my back of my neck here. Wow. But he just would turn it on and just would come out with the funniest, most amazing stuff, and most of it's not in the film, unfortunately. But just such a tremendous actor.
He does great. A lot of his films in what was it? American History X with Norton. He did great in that. His and a lot of people may not know the name, but they may know him as Randy from My Name Is Earl. He was Earl's brother. Hilarious.
Beefcake now. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have. He has transformed, and he's built like a brick shit house. He is like, muscular. His muscles have muscles. So he, but I always kind of, you can tell if people are nice and, real life when they do interviews and this and that, and just, go back and pull up some Samuel L. Jackson interviews and you'll see what I'm talking about. But, I could always tell that Ethan was, a nice guy.
Yeah, you're rarely surprised. Actors generally are how you expect them to be. The ones that you think are going to be assholes are usually assholes, and the ones that you think are going to be nice are usually nice. So,
no, there's a guy, and I'm dating myself here, and he was at Scarefest. That's a horror paranormal convention in Lexington, Kentucky, in 2008 or 9, and it was the guy from Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, Tom. Is it Hutchison? Do you know Daniel?
I don't know. I don't remember offhand. I'm sorry.
Anyway, he's the lead guy. He was a dick. I mean, he was an older guy, but he had a colostomy bag, which, there's nothing wrong with that. But there was this 12-year-old boy that was wanting his autograph and picture with him. Tom Atkins is his name. That just came to me. Yeah. And so he yells at this little kid. He's like, "No, I've got to go change my bag." And he, goes and comes back, and the little kid's still standing there, 12, 13 years old. And then as he's going up to his room for the night, he has like this little pull-on suitcase that he's got, I guess his money and his photos and all that stuff in, because he don't want to leave it there at his booth. So this little kid's still there, and he's like, "Hey kid, grab that bag and pull it up here for me." He was just like entitled. He honestly thought that he was God walking around. And, I was hanging out with some buddies that was close to his booth, and I was thinking, man, that guy is a dick.
It's actually, funny thing is, and this was not planned or prompted, I posted on my Facebook yesterday that I love reading mean celebrity stories. And most of, I've been doing conventions. I've not done the last couple of years for obvious reasons. I've been doing conventions probably since about 2007 or so. And most people are really, really nice. But every now and again you run into, maybe there's been maybe 2 or 3 that I've interacted with that just were not nice. We're not happy to be there. didn't want to do it, whatever. And Goose, I thought you were going to tell Robert Zadar's story when you started. I know you have a few of those.
Oh my gosh. I think I've actually told that on the show before. About I had to take him to the airport. He was a maniac cop.
Yeah.
You
And
did tell us that.
And he's shit in the guy's driveway.
Yep.
And I mean, that was something. I mean, dude, because we honestly, me and Cherokee Hall and I think Heather and maybe Billy Blackwell, we drew straws to see who had to take this guy back to the airport, because Billy's wife, Denise, actually went and got him. And as soon as she come in, she see me, she's like, I do not know how you talked me into that. I said, what are you talking about? She's like, and they had this real nice BMW car. She's like, he kept hawking up boogers and spitting them out the window as we're going up the interstate. She said, my car is covered in goobers on the side of these. I'm like, well, I'm very sorry. So we actually drew straws to see who had the unfortunate pleasure of taking him back to the airport. And of course, that was me. And, you know, at the time, I didn't have like a built-in GPS in the vehicle. I had just like a little TomTom or something like that. And he told me what airport. He gave me the address. So we're going down this little street, one-way street, houses on each side. I remember this. The airport's right up here down the road. And we get up there, and it's a little small private, airport with like Cessnas and small planes. So, and we've got like 20 minutes left before his flight takes off. So I look up the address myself. I put it in, and we're like 10 minutes away, and we're in Knoxville. So I turn around. He's like, don't even go. Don't even bother going. Just take me back. You can bring me back tomorrow. I'm like, and I'm thinking, no, there's no way I'm bringing your ass back down here tomorrow. So as we're going out, he's like gripping my dashboard and the side door. And he's like, I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, you got to pull over. I'm about to shit myself. I'm like, there's no store. He's like, pull over. So I pull over. And I always carry a roll of paper towels. I give him a roll of paper towels. And we're right in front of this house with big hedges. And he jumps out, opens, leaves the door open, faces me as he's pulling his pants down. And, for those of you that don't know Robert Zadar, he was, like I said, he was in the Maniac Cop movies. He was the Maniac Cop. He was also in some Sylvester Stallone films. Big muscular guy. He took steroids. So he pulls his jogging pants down, and his balls, both of his balls, are as big as each of my fists. And they're dangling down to his knees. And I'm trying not to look. And I'm trying to watch, the rearview mirror in front of me, just all around me, to see if anybody's. I'm thinking, well, I'm going to jail. Here's this guy is shitting in somebody's driveway. And I look back, and you see the blinds come down, and somebody look. And so then Robert starts hollering, hey, Goose, there's blood in my shit. I'm like, well, that's not good. That's not supposed to be there. I'm like, you probably need to see a doctor. So then the door to this house opens up as he's wiping his ass. And I'm like, man, somebody's coming out of that house. You need to hurry. He's like, all right, I'm almost done. So he uses a whole roll of paper towels. And he's like, what do you want me to do with it? I'm like, just throw it down and get in the car. Because at this time, the guy is at the bottom of his steps about 20 feet away from us. So he jumps in the vehicle. And I get the hell out of there. I look back in the rearview mirror, and the guy's standing there looking down at the mess Robert Zadar left, looking back up at me and looking down. And I'm thinking, well, we're definitely getting the police caught on us. I'm definitely going to jail. Here this guy shitting this guy's yard. So at this time, we're like probably, hell, I don't know, 18 miles or 50. It's cutting it close. So I get him to the right airport. I grab his suitcase out. We go inside. He's, we go to the counter. He's like, yeah, I need special assistance. I need a wheelchair. I'm like, can you guys help him with that? They're like, yeah. So they're bringing him a wheelchair. They get him a wheelchair. And I'm walking behind the guy pushing a wheelchair for the airport, and he's talking to me, talking to that guy, and I pick on the guy pushing the wheelchair, and I give him his suitcase. So as he's talking, I just turn and leave and get the hell out of there, because I really didn't think he was going to make his flight. I really didn't. And I knew that he was not going back with me. There was no way whatsoever. So I get back in my car that I left running with the hazard lights on, parked in front of the Knoxville airport, right in front of the main doors. I run back out. I get in it. I go across the street to a gas station. I go in. I buy the biggest bottle of Lysol that there is. I mean, and I emptied that whole bottle in my passenger seat, because all he had on was a pair of jogging pants. He had no underwear, no nothing. And here he's just shit blood in this guy's yard. And so I spray it down, and then I call Cherokee. I'm like, you're never going to believe what this guy done. So I tell him the whole story. And he's like, no, he didn't. I'm like, dude, I'm not lying to you. This is 100% true. He's shit in this guy's yard. And then Cherokee's like, well, you know, we took him a pizza and a gallon of milk last night, and he said that pizza give him a shit. I'm like, why the hell did you do that, knowing that I had to take him down there this morning? And I'm like, as a matter of fact, asshole, he ate pizza when he was still eating it when I picked him up at the hotel this morning. And so, you know, I mean, that is the Robert Zadar story. He did so much over the weekend that we had that we hosted that horror show. But you know, God rest his soul, he's, you know, that is a story that will live on, because I mean, that's something I will never forget. I will never forget that. He made some negative comments about Jews on the way down. He did that in front of Sylvester Stallone. And then he looked at me and he's like, did you know that Sylvester Stallone's Jewish? I'm like, yeah, I did. He's like, I never knew that. That is Mr. Robert Zadar. He passed away maybe 2015 or 16, or maybe before that. But he was definitely a character. He's also, and this is a nerd fact for you, he is connected to Roddy Piper, who said the line, I've come here to chew bubblegum, kick ass, I'm all of bubblegum, because Robert Zadar played in I guess it was the part 2 of Hell Comes to Frogtown. He played the lead in that. But
I didn't know there was a part 2 to Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Yeah. And Robert Zadar played the lead in that. That was like his first film, he told me. And he actually used to be a Chicago PD police officer, and he quit to get into acting. So, I mean, I know more about Robert Zadar than I should. So, I
mean, and the sad thing was he was a decent actor. He just he liked a Thunderbird, I guess.
Yeah.
He was 3 sheets to the wind, I think, literally every time I ever talked to him.
Yeah.
But he was always very nice to us. He was always he didn't know I was Jewish. Maybe that was it. But he was always very nice, but yeah, he liked his beverages.
When he told me that story, and because he had filmed Lock Up, that had Kurt Russell and Sylvester Stallone in it. He had filmed that one because he's the one that they get in a fight with, and they push into the electrical box, and it shocks him and he dies. He had filmed that one. He had a brief part in Sylvester Stallone's comedy Oscar, and I can't remember what part he told me he had. He was scheduled to be in Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, but before that is when Sylvester Stallone called him personally, sent a car to pick him up. He was having dinner. He, you know, like you said, he enjoyed his drink. He got about probably 6 sheets to the wind, and that's when he started making the negative comments. And he said, after that, Sylvester never called me anymore. I said, well, he said, so you listen to me. He's like, if there's one thing I could take back, that would be it. And I'm looking at him, and he's got tears in his eyes, and he's like really crying, you know, not because what he said, just because what it costed him. if that makes sense to you. And he, do you remember the last day of that show that he grabbed the microphone out of the guy that was the announcer? And
Is that when they had to stitch his pants up?
Yes,
Yeah.
because in order to get him to come and honestly, and I'm probably boring you guys to death. I'm sorry. And I don't mean to keep talking so much with Daniel on here, but he made me think of this stuff. When we had this convention, he wasn't really scheduled to be at the convention. He was scheduled to be in a movie, and he actually played my dad in a movie. He was the sheriff. I was a deputy. Daniel's actually in that movie as well. I think you're actually in that scene with us as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
And so when he found out we're doing this convention, he's like, hey, do you think they'll give me a table and I'll sell pictures? And I'm like, sure. So then, it's just us being nice to him because he's already going to be in the area. And so about a week before, he's like, when I get off the plane, I need 2 pairs of gray jogging pants, size so-and-so, a pair of shoes, this size. You can get those from Walmart, 2 gallons of milk, and black hair dye. I'm like, okay. So I tell Cherokee all this. He's like, you kidding me? I'm like, no, I'm not. So we get him his jogging pants. And on the last day of the show, we had this announcer that was walking around talking to people, is over the loudspeaker. And he grabs the microphone out of the guy's hand and he goes, attention, can I have your attention, please? I have a pants emergency. If anybody has a crochet needle or a sewing kit, I need somebody to come and fix my pants. Because he had ripped the pull string out of the jogging pants. And he told us like 2 sizes too big, so they were falling down. Believe it or not, this woman rushes to him, gets on her knees and starts sewing his pants because somebody, no shit, actually had a needle or a crochet needle or some kind of stuff. And that's another moment I'll never forget. And for those of you listening and watching on Twitch, Daniel can I don't know if he can now, but he used to be able to put the drink away. So
yes.
I guess we all did when we were younger.
Not much younger. Yeah, I barely drink anymore. So it really is. It was a convention thing, and it was a Kentucky thing. I blame it on Kentucky because every time we rolled into Kentucky, it was a party. That was we used to book shows in Kentucky for that reason. Just to hang out. Yeah, just to have fun. Good bourbon. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's one of the reasons I used to love going to these shows. Is just meeting people, hanging out with them, partying with them. I mean, I've went to shows years ago. I don't go like I went to the one just a few months back in October, but that's the first one I'd been to in like 12 years. But I mean, it used to be a party all weekend long. I mean, there was times I would wake up and there would be Danielle Harris in the back of my car. She was played in the Halloween movies. She was the little girl who, like, Michael Myers was after. That was his niece. And you've got her in the back seat, and Al Snow, he's a professional wrestler in the front seat. And, I mean, just here we're all going to breakfast, at the IHOP across the street. And it was just fun. It was a lot of fun. I didn't mean to get off topic. I really didn't. Daniel, you made me think of that. So, and I hope that I didn't.
We're all better for it.
Well, I hope that I didn't bore anybody to death. How did you get started in writing and directing your own films?
I had actually quit acting for a while. After a road trip, I went to go study to be a pastor, and that did not work out. So about the time mid-20s or so, I started doing the conventions, and then I started acting again and doing a lot of lower budget, independent film, a lot of horror. I mean, I love horror. I'm a horror guy anyway. But it's just kind of, I was speaking to an actor friend of mine at the time, and I was just like, what would be cool? I'd really like to be in a movie where we did this, that, and the other. And it just kind of went from there of making the films that I wanted to act in or making the films that I wanted to watch. And then growing from that, you just kind of realize that that's where the fun is. I love acting and I still act, and, I try to do a couple of roles a year if I can, but the creation aspect of writing and directing and that to me is so much more fulfilling because it's, I call it making movie magic, because with how you set up a camera, how you frame a scene, how you write the dialogue, all this kind of stuff, you can really manipulate an audience and you can really make people feel something. And that to me has always been, the great thing about filmmaking.
Now we have some questions coming in on Twitch. Could you highlight Chaotix?
Yeah. So Daniel, do you think that Drew Barrymore was Tom Green's handler, and that's the real reason that he's a nobody today, because he wouldn't play ball? Now let's back it up a little bit, because Shitmess also has a good question. Do you believe in the Hollywood elites first, and then do you believe that Tom Green was Drew Barrymore, or Drew Barrymore was Tom Green's handler?
I think people in power in any industry will always coalesce together and will always do what they can to maintain that power. Do I think, number one, I'm Jewish, and I can guarantee that we don't rule the world. So I'm going to get away from that. Kanye can think what he wants, but I'm going to get away from that. But do I think that there are high power players in Hollywood who are all in one accord and kind of working toward the same goals, meaning their own power, their own longevity? Yeah, I do believe that. And I think that's the same probably for any industry. Same for politics, same for sports, same for anything. Do I think Drew Barrymore was his handler? I don't know. I've never thought that before, but I've never really given it much thought. I think that Tom Green was just not a guy who, and I liked Tom a great deal. I still like how I follow him on TikTok. He lives out apparently like on a farm in Canada somewhere now and seems to be having a great time. But I think Hollywood itself prefers people they can mold and people they can manipulate and people they can push in their own direction. That's why you see, I don't want to, I can name names, but I don't want to name names, but there are people that you see in movies over and over who aren't that great. And they're just so, you wonder, like, why is this person being shoved? I'll use Armie Hammer, for instance. Why has this man been in like 30 movies? I couldn't pick him out of a lineup because he's so ordinary looking. He is such a milquetoast actor. But they just keep pushing him because somebody somewhere wants him to succeed. He's playing ball with somebody. He is doing the quote unquote right things. And for that reason, they keep propping him up and keep putting him in prominent positions. Whereas somebody like he's like generic white guy number 5.
Yeah.
He's the default when you play a video game.
With two weapons.
But someone like a Tom Green, who is again, very nice guy, but a kind of a loose cannon, is probably harder to control. Yeah.
Now, with the recent development of, or not recent, you've had Netflix around for years. You've got all these streaming services now as well. Do you think that is taking power away from Hollywood elites and putting it more in people's hands? And
no, I'm sorry. I was going to say I absolutely do. Absolutely do. And the fact that now anybody with, a fairly decent camera and a little bit of skill can make their movie and get it out there in front of the audience. The deck's still stacked against you because the media conglomerates are still trying everything they can to control these new mediums, but it's getting harder for them to do so. Yeah.
And and you mentioned movies. The deck. It's like you don't do business like they used to, and the same thing goes for the record industry as well. All that stuff is totally like, you've got Chris Stapleton, who grew up just like, 20 miles from where Bunker Studios is at. And he has did interviews talking about how different it is, to get record deals and get your music out there. And it's like everything has changed, which I think change is good, as long as it's positive. Without me going on a rant, you've got a new bill again where our government are trying to ban TikTok, because one of the main reasons that they've give after them stealing our data, and the government's never give a shit about us before, is the influence that they're afraid that the app is going to influence people. I think it already has influenced people. And when you get more reliable news on TikTok from actual news. Yes, Rebecca.
Didn't they say last year in January that TikTok was going to disappear? I feel like this is just a whole bullshit story to get people fucking panicked, right? And to like try and promote some other fucking bullshit. I don't think TikTok's going anywhere.
I'm going to be honest, and Daniel, Dirtydan, I want your guys' opinion on this. I don't think that they're trying to get people stirred up, because I think people are coming together because they're realizing that their rights are being violated more and more. And just imagine if this does go through and they do ban TikTok. Imagine what they could ban next. And I've said this on the show before. And Daniel, I don't know how you feel over the things over the last 2 years, and wearing stuff over your face. I respect everybody's decision. And I've said this before. There was a guy, when I was working, that came out of a gas station. He was around my age, didn't have a mask on. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, don't write me a ticket." I'm like, "Man, I'm going to be blunt. I don't give a shit if you wear one or not." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "This is not Nazi Germany. That's your choice. If you want to wear one, if you don't, I don't care." I'm like, "You're not going to have to worry about me," And that, by me doing that, I had people watching me. They tried to call and complain on me. But, we headed that off at the pass really quick. But, it burns me up that you get that they're just trying to control us that way. I mean, that really does. Daniel, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, the whole masking thing, a lot of that was just theater. It's government trying to justify its existence by making us feel like they were trying to do something. And really that's what it is. And I'm a liberty guy. I'm a freedom guy. I think that, as long as you're not harming somebody, you should have the freedom to live your life in the way that you see fit. I also support the rights of private businesses to, if a business wants you to mask up, that's the business's, that's their prerogative. But
without coercion from someone else above them, making it harder for them.
Yeah. So that's my thing, and it's all. I don't think very kindly about government in general. So,
well, I totally back you, and I agree with you 100%. I don't think very kindly of government either. I think that we're getting to a point that something is going to have to happen. Things are going to have to be, and I'll use the word reset. And I know there's a lot of people don't like that word, but something is going to have to, because if it keeps going the way that it is, it's just, it's bullshit, period. That's just what I think, back when all that was going on, there was a couple of things that I was asked to do, and I flat out said, "No, I'm not doing that." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "I'm not doing that." I'm like, "I'll go to the house. I don't care. I'm not doing that." And I didn't do it. There was a guy from the local health department back here wanted me to go with him and get on to private businesses about how many people were in the store and they didn't have something on their face. And I'm like, "Nope, that's your job, man. That's not mine." He's like, "Well, what if they, try to assault me?" I'm like, "Well, call 911 and I'll be there." And, that's not my job to go in and tell people that, and I'm not doing it. And then we had another, and I'm not going to name it, but we had a church, that was given permission on Easter Sunday to hold a service in the parking lot. And of course, they're going to do it on Easter Sunday. If you can be in your car or inside, because that's a big draw money day, because you have people that don't normally go to church on Easter Sunday. They, there was a guy that talked to me that was big in that church, and he's like, we need police protection there. And I'm like, well, sorry, man. I don't work on Sundays. He's like, well, can you come out? I'm like, no. He's like, can you send somebody? I'm like, no. He's like, what I need to do? I'm like, call the state police, I guess. I'm like, we're not getting involved in that. I'm like, that has nothing to do with us. He's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you've got all this stuff going on in the world today. You're worried. And he got offended at this. I said, you're worried about getting donations because you even said before this conversation started that was one of your biggest money draws of the year was Easter Sunday. And you've got special permission from the governor's office to have this in the parking lot with people in their cars. We're not getting involved in religious stuff. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, that's what I mean. We're not coming. And because he was afraid there would be protesters there. So, we didn't go. I don't know if anybody went, to be honest with you. I take that back. There may have been some sheriff's deputies that went, but fuck that shit. I'm not going to go infringe on people's rights so you can double, triple, whatever you're offering stuff that's going to be going in your pocket and not going to people that actually need it, that can't pay their bills, and I'm going to calm down there and get on a rant, but I just want to share that story with you guys. Let's see. Derby City. Hey man, welcome to the show. Same here. I'm not a mass police. And Derby City, I think, is new to us. He has discovered me on TikTok on the Goose from. He's not new. Is that what you're shaking your head at? Okay. Well,
that's Joe. That's another
okay.
Joe. Joe's better off for me. He's also in Kentucky.
Okay. Well, Joe has been more active on my TikToks. So, and it's funny that he is here. Be sure to stick around for the whole show, Derby City, aka Joe.
Foreshadowing.
But it's just, and hell, I've lost my train of thought. We did have some comments going back up, but you care to scroll back up a little bit? And this is when Daniel was talking. I am sorry.
You want Shitmess's question?
No, we had. It was after. Did she ask a second question?
I don't know. I don't even remember what we were talking.
Okay,
about.
Yeah. Let's go back to her second question. Can you read that, because I've sent you pictures?
Well, can he elaborate on what bothers him?
Or
I don't know.
I believe that was in
about
regards
the
to the whole
government.
Hollywood
About
government
the government
thing.
Oh, okay. Well, what bothers you about the government?
What bothers me about the government?
Yeah.
The fact that they very obviously don't give a shit about any one of us on either side. And the fact that people honestly believe they do, I find very sad. The whole thing, and I used to consider myself a libertarian until I realized that the Libertarian Party is just a bunch of jokers and weirdos for the most part. So now I don't really consider myself anything. But my whole thing is, you tell people this, and I try not to talk politics at all anymore. My social media is all politic free for that reason. But the whole thing is, you tell people, well, I'm not a big fan of the government. I'm not a big fan of big government. Like whatever. And what people hear when you say that is, oh, well, I don't give a shit about people. I want people to starve in the streets. No, that's not true at all. I'm very charitable. I support charities. I support community work, getting out, doing things in the community helping itself, because the government's not going to do it. They'll tell you, oh, well, we need X amount of dollars for, healthcare, so everybody can have healthcare. Okay, great. If you come to me and tell me, and I'm sorry, now I'm going to get on a rant.
No, please.
If you come to me and tell me that, we need extra 10% in taxes, but everybody's going to have healthcare. Okay, yeah, that sounds great. I want people to have healthcare. I think as a society, as a relatively wealthy, prosperous society, I think, we can do things like that if we actually did them. But what they do is they say, oh, it's always healthcare or the elderly or the veterans or something. They're going to find some hook that's going to make people feel bad. And that's what they use to get more out of us. So they'll say, oh, we need, just small increase in taxes to take care of the elderly or take care of healthcare, whatever. And because you're a decent human being, you're like, yeah, that sounds fine. But they don't take that money and do that. Instead, they take that money and they wage wars in some foreign land. They're propping up some foreign government. They're sending billions in aid to nations across the world. It's people always point out, we send such and such to Israel. Yeah, we send that much to Israel. We also send that much to Egypt. We send that much to, probably 30 other countries on the planet. We are
not our own.
Yeah. We're propping up military bases all over the world. They use it to pay off lobbyists to pass laws that don't benefit anybody but themselves. And it's just that it's, if we had a government we could trust, we're not any worse than anybody else. I don't think there's ever been a reliable, trustworthy government since, the dawn of time. But if we had a government we could trust, then yeah, absolutely. We can all pay in our fair share and make sure everybody has health care and food and lodging and public welfare and all this kind of stuff. Because those are great things. Those are moral things. Those are ethical things that I think the vast majority of us support. But the thing is, they don't do these things. They don't do these things. They dangle these things out like a carrot on a stick to get us to keep voting for them. And this is both sides. And they don't do it. And they just keep kicking the can down the road. You talk about, and I'm not going to get on personal beliefs on this, but you talk about, abortion rights or marriage rights or whatever, they could have solved these issues. They could have already codified these things into laws if that's what they wanted to do, but they don't want to do it because they want to use these issues as things that keep people voting for them. And whatever the issue is, defense, the wall, whatever the issue is, they could get these things done and get it done in a 4-year period, but they don't because they always want to push it off to, well, this is part of my 6-year plan. So you need to reelect me so I can get these things done. Motherfucker, that every president in my lifetime has been telling us this shit, and they never get anything done because they don't want to, because it's not in their best interest. Sorry.
Whenever the sentence starts out with motherfucker, I know it's going to be good.
You share a lot of beliefs that we do, that the flock shares. Let's see, chaotic. I like this guy. How does he feel about NASA?
I don't know. What is this? I don't know that I have a strong feeling on NASA one way or the other. I don't know that that's something I look for.
NASA's bullshit. Okay, NASA's bullshit. That's what we think. NASA's bullshit. And we also think that space is bullshit, not real. And that, first of all, NASA started in the ocean. They were initially funded and created to explore the ocean. So are they still in the ocean because they film all their shit with a fucking green screen anyway? So what do you think about NASA? Is NASA, do you believe in NASA? Do you think that NASA is a thing, or do you think that NASA is bullshit?
Well, I was somebody had recognized me from the gym earlier in the week that listened to the show, and they were, talking to me. As I was on a treadmill, they got on a treadmill beside me, started talking, and they're like, did you know that, and they were talking about NASA, and they're like, on one of your guys' shows, you talking about me, they said you mentioned that NASA holds patents that people don't know about, and they get millions of dollars. I'm like, yes, yeah. I knew that, because like you said, I was the one that told you about it. And he started naming off some of these, and he's like, imagine how much money that is, and they're getting money from our government as well. They are part of the government, and you've got this billions and billions of dollars that they're getting all this from the patents that they own and so forth. And so that guy, had just discovered our show a couple of weeks ago, and I don't remember what episode that was. I said that. I know it was way back, but he was just fascinated with that. not to switch ships or jump or anything. We had some comments earlier, Daniel, and if you watch the replay back when we drop this, you can watch it back anytime on Twitch, and we also drop it on the Here to Chew Bubblegum YouTube page as well. And we had some people talking about this was a great show. You know, they really like you. You're a great guest. And someone, I think it was Purple Princess, said that you should come to Flock Fest sometime. So, you know, if you and Amy are up for a road trip, we may try to make that happen sometime in the future. And Flock Fest is a very special event. It is the Queen's birthday. And we had the first one last year and had a great turnout.
Flockfest is like the most epic version of a conglomeration of virtual reality coming to real reality. And it's like Woodstock, but with flamingos.
It sounds like a party there.
It is a party. It is a party. It's a 3-day thing this year, and I'm very excited about it. We do all the things. Dirtydan cooks. We got the barbecue pit. We have games. We do. Listen, it's a thing. Where's Joe? It's 200 and it was last like 259 days until Flockfest. 258 somewhere around there. It's
So
just pencil it in. It'll be fine. All right.
we will definitely try to make that happen. Now, getting back to your movies and stuff, you're working on. Are you currently working on 2 projects right now?
Man, I've always got 3-4 things brewing, but I've got officially one that is funded and will be shooting in the spring. I also had another project that we could not get funding for, but I'm still shopping that one around. So
now the one filming in the spring. Give me 1 second and let me. I've got this stuff here. Let's see why I do that. Ship Mess asked, does he believe in alien life forms?
I am very skeptical. I'm a skeptical person by nature. So, so I would be delighted if we found something, but I'm not very hopeful that we would.
We will say a few things in just a moment that may change your mind. But the movie they're filming in the spring, is that Foxglove Candy?
Foxglove Candy, yep. It's my homage to juvenile delinquent drive-in pictures of the 50s and 60s, yep.
Foxglove?
Yes, Foxglove. Foxglove,
yep. It's a poisonous flower.
Can you tell us a little bit about that without giving too much away?
Sure. Again, it's my homage to filmmakers like Roger Corman, Russ Meyer, Jack Hill, who made all those great movies like Faster Pussycat and Switchblade Sisters and things like that in the 50s, 60s, 70s. But it's about 3 young women who meet men and scam them from the internet and sometimes occasionally murder them. And then they run across someone who's just a little more dangerous than they are, and it's kind of a cat and mouse game. But ultimately, it's a thriller. It's fun. It's got some comedic elements to it. It plays a little bit, to horror, but really it's just kind of a fun thriller. And again, it's really modeled after those what we used to call grindhouse films, drive-in films, things like that. So,
oh yeah. And you're gonna start filming that? Is that going to be filmed in Alabama in the spring?
We filmed in the Birmingham area, my home base here. So
there you go. Now, I was looking at on your IMDb page last night, and at first I was going to ask you about this, but I realized it didn't say what I thought it said. It was a short film from 2013, Flying Saucers Over.
Son of a bitch!
What?
The one thing I wanted to ask him was how it was to be under the director of Wayne's World, stemming from Flying Saucers Over Fetish Land.
Dirtydan, please. I think you have a question about a film that he did in 2013. Will you please ask that?
So being the star of this short film, like I love Wayne's World. I love everything about it. I've always liked Jerry Williams films. Like that's one of the 2 directors I know. 3. How was it getting to work for him? How was it during that whole process?
I believe this is a different Jerry Williams. Jerry Williams that I worked for did not direct Wayne's World.
Really?
Yeah. So it's going to be a different Jerry Williams. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is
Oh, that's such a letdown.
No, well, see,
Yeah.
the Flying Saucers looks like. Oh, okay. No, your character was Biff McGee. Okay.
Biff McGee. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Jerry Williams is a fantastic avant-garde filmmaker out of Kentucky there. The joke used to be whenever you went to Kentucky to a convention is that you may end up in a Jerry Williams movie because he was constantly shooting, and then he would contact me after the fact. It was like, I found you, drunk in a hallway and you said these lines, do you care if I use this in a film? And I'm like, no, go ahead. It'll be great. And that's most of my Jerry Williams work was him sticking a camera in my face and having me. That's where the Biff McGee character came from. It was he told me he was shooting, some zombies from beyond or something, and he's like, can you just pretend to be a character and you're going to go fight some zombies? And I'm like, yeah. So I just real quick, it's like, Biff McGee is going to kick some zombie ass, and that became my character. So it was a recurring character in Jerry Williams films. But no, he did not direct Wayne's World, even though it would have been an amazing film if he had.
I can introduce you to Jerry Williams, aka Goat Boy, sometime. Dirtydan.
So you do know him?
Oh yeah. I've been in several Jerry Williams films as well. So the last one I was in was maybe 2012. I played a character called the Evil Goose. So, seriously, that was the name of my character. Hey, I have a IMDb credit. Look it up, my friend. Let's see. Is that James that made the comment?
I was just gonna say, so does James.
Yeah. What IMDb credit do you have, James? As we're waiting on him to respond. How often does big Hollywood come to your area or your state and film nowadays, Daniel?
We get a lot of spillover from Atlanta. I know a lot of the Marvel movies will film. They will be filming in Atlanta, but they will come do scenes here. I want to say, was it maybe Civil War? They shot a lot of downtown. And then we get a lot of smaller Hollywood productions. When Fred Durst directed The Fanatic with John Travolta, that was shot downtown here. Funny story about that was The Fanatic, which was, I liked it. A lot of people kind of gave it a hard time, but I thought it was fun for what it was. John Travolta plays this kind of nerdy, obsessed guy who's obsessed with, fan culture and things like that. And at one point he goes into a hobby shop, and one of my actors from my previous film, It's Just a Game, was set designer. So if you look in the scene where John Travolta goes into the hobby shop and he's talking to the guy there, right behind the guy's head is a prop from It's Just a Game with like the logo on it. It's one of the knives we used, and we had given to Rachel Marshall, who played Skullgirl in the film, and she was gifted one of the knives with a little It's Just a Game plaque, and you can actually see that in the film. So I'm like one degree. Awesome. I'm like 1 degree from John Travolta now. But yeah, they do a lot of filming here. I just actually read where they're going to be shooting some Hallmark stuff here. So it's a lot of people don't think about Alabama as having a large film community, but it's a very large, very active independent film community. We have Sidewalk Film Fest, which is one of the region's biggest film festivals, and again, we get a lot of spillover from Atlanta. So
that is cool. James is a composer, a really skilled composer. So Daniel, if you ever need anybody, just get up with James there, because his IMDb credit was from the web episode Lydia Castro made, Living the Dream LA, the episode directorial debut as composer for the background music. My hat's off to you, James. Great job. Do you guys want to take a break, or Rebecca?
I have one question, and then I was going to ask if I could ask my question, and then we could take a break.
And
finish out the show. So my question for you, Daniel, is what's a piece of advice that you have for anyone wanting to get into acting?
Don't stop. Don't think that just because you live in whatever area, or just because you've never had training, or just because you're whatever age. There are roles for everybody, and there are people making films in every part of the world. I would recommend, of course, putting the effort in, making sure you present your quote unquote brand. I hate that word, but that's what it is. Your social media presence, things like that. But, just sign up for a casting website and just give it your all, because again, it's a big table and there's room for everybody who wants to eat. So, if somebody's willing to put the time and effort in, you can get acting jobs. And you don't have to go to Hollywood anymore. Things have become, again, with streaming, like we talked about earlier and everything, things have become much more decentralized. So I think there's opportunities out there for everybody. That, have a thick skin, because rejection will come. So it's not personal.
Very good. Very good question, Rebecca. Very good questions from you guys. For you guys on Twitch, we'll be back in how many minutes, Rebecca?
You want to do 10? You want to come back at it's 10:40. We'll call it 10:40. You want to come back at 10:50?
Sounds good. We'll be back in 10 minutes. For those of you listening to the podcast, you're going to hear the news, and we'll be back after that. You're listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum with Goose, Dirtydan, and Rebecca, and special guest, actor Daniel Emery Taylor. We'll be back in just a little while. And welcome back to Here to Chew Bubblegum. Before we move on to the format there, I wanted to circle back really quick. And Daniel, I wanted to ask you, someone had asked about the cast of Foxglove. So
for Foxglove Candy, I've got just a fantastic cast I've put together. Some folks I've worked with before, but our three leads, the three young women, are very, very excited to be able to work with them. Gareth Tidball, who was in a film recently called My Autopsy, which is fantastic. You can see that on Tubi. Just a tremendous, tremendous actor. She's our lead. And from the moment I saw her reel, I'm like, this is definitely somebody I want to work with. Bronwyn Kilcrease, who was in the Coach Von Pigeon videos for Funny or Die. She's got a great comedic timing, just somebody who is just absolutely tremendous in what she does. And then a young lady I actually found off of Backstage, which is the website that I use for my casting most of the time, Emma Copenhaver. This will be her first acting role, but she's actually going to school now for film and wants to be a filmmaker herself. So it's really tremendous, because your actors, 90% of directing is casting. Your actors can make or break your project. You can have the best effects, the best camera, the best whatever in the world, but if your actors suck, your project's going to suck. But I've got those three, and then some people I worked with before. G. Larry Butler, who has done it. Larry is just a fantastic actor. I've worked with him on most everything I've done. He's an old school Hollywood guy. He's an older gentleman, but Larry is just fantastic. Brian Wilson, who was one half of the Underground Entertainment team. Brian is hysterical. Such a funny guy, such a tremendously talented actor. And then another young lady out of New Orleans named Nadia Eiler. She is 15, 16, I think. She's in it as well. And just, a star in the making, absolute star in the making. So no big names or anything like that, but just absolutely the best actors I could find. And I'm really excited to be working with all of them.
Now, I have met Larry before. The last, film that I ever did, and it's been several years ago, probably 9, was for Cherokee. We filmed it in Louisville, had a old elementary school, and I actually met Larry. Larry's a great guy.
Larry's great. Larry is so over the top. I write lines just for Larry to say them. He played the father in It's Just a Game, my last film, and he's kind of this goofy sitcom type father that I had him play. And at one point he pops into the frame and he's wearing a chef's hat. He's got a plate of crepes, and it's just like the most basic line is, who wants crepes? But with Larry's delivery, it's who wants crepes? And it's funny. I crack up every single time. The first film I co-directed, The Hospital, I wrote this just goofy horror movie dialogue for Larry to deliver. And there it is, the throne of hell itself. Like everything Larry said, everything comes out of his mouth is just so grandiose and over the top that I love it. So I try to think of the weirdest things to get Larry to do and say for that reason.
You mentioned The Hospital. That movie, I'm talking about the twist towards the end. I'm not going to give the plot away. That actually, I never saw that coming. You guys got me with that, because I never, usually I can watch a movie and I'm like, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. I never saw that twist coming. And I think you know what I'm talking about. And if not, I'll Facebook message you here and let you know what I'm talking about. But Rebecca asked a question before we went to break about, advice you have for people wanting to get into acting. What advice would you have for people wanting to send reels in to people casting? Because I've seen some of your Facebook comments and I'd love the things that you say, but what is somebody that is getting into acting and they're going to make a reel? What advice would you give them on making the reel?
Making the reel. A lot of people think that just because they've never worked before that they don't have anything. I always recommend find a good monologue that you like. Just find a monologue that you like and record yourself, with that, delivering that monologue. That to me goes a long way. Just so you can. Because when you're looking at a casting website, especially, and you're going through and you're trying to sort through, hundreds of submissions or whatever, it's real good to be able to get a taste of somebody's skill level. So, monologues are good. Really anything, stage work, if you've, done plays in school or anything, basically anything that can exhibit your acting skill. I think would definitely be beneficial.
Very good. Very good. Now, before we get to the question of the week stuff, you said that you didn't really believe that aliens were out there, or you were on the fence about it.
I'm skeptical. Yeah, I'm skeptical.
All right. Well, and I know that you're very busy. If you get any free time, go and first, before I say this, what's your thoughts on the Roswell crash?
I've never looked that deeply into it. My, I guess, just kind of surface level belief is that it was probably some kind of military technology or something that they're testing out. But again, it's not anything I've ever studied in depth.
Okay. Now, like I said, if you do get any free time, look into Roswell. But then after you read into that and kind of get familiar with the story, Google or search or whatever search engine you use, technology that came after Roswell, and start reading some of the technology that came after within the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And then TR-3B. You can see pictures of that, and then TR-3B patent. And if you do those like 3 things, 4 things, 3 things, ever how many things, you might be swayed a little bit to think, wow, something really did happen. And there's more stuff, but that's always a good starting point. And I like to ask everyone on the show what they think about Roswell. If they think it was, a weather balloon or swamp gas, or, like you said, military tech. But just, if you get some free time, just check up on that. Rebecca.
Okay, well, I like to keep an open mind about things.
Well, I'm going to be totally honest with you. Before I started doing this show, First as me. So if you do listen, skip like the first 6 or 7 episodes because they're not any good. It's just me on it, just reading stuff. But he gets a lot better after that. And we really hit our groove when Dirtydan and Rebecca came on board. But I thought it could be possible. They could exist after doing this show. Well, yes, it is growth, but I've always been afraid that somebody would listen to the first couple of episodes, but this shit sucks. I'm not going to listen to any more of this. How do they have 111 episodes? But I always thought like you, it was possible. But the more research I've done, people I've talked to, some inside stuff that I've seen and read, and I think that they do, without a shadow of a doubt, exist. Our government knows about it, and I think that they've been here. So, Rebecca, do you want to go ahead and read some question of the week responses from last week?
Yeah. I sent them.
Yes, I saw that.
Okay. So the question was, why do humans choose to fight about things that remain unknown due to the lack of factual foundation? And I just pulled a couple. There were actually a lot of really similar answers. A lot of people said, I'm going to go actually backwards. A lot of people said their ego. Another person, because everyone wants to be heard and be right and be more than be accurate in what's being said. Ego and fear, programmed into many of us as tiny children. Ego, pride, fear, boredom, ego. Some people are wired to hear what they want to hear and aren't open to another perspective. Perception is reality. Instinctual social dominance signaling. We are not like wolf packs. We are like hyena packs. Always dominant signaling everywhere, everything. They would rather be wrong than admit to themselves and others that they've been fooled. People are always on the defense mode and they're always in fight mode because of the cruel world. Knowing facts scare people. So there were a lot of good answers to that question. I love doing these questions of the week. Yeah, but ego across the board, ego, pride, and the fear of being wrong. So I do have a new question for this week, and I picked it. We're not gonna.
Okay.
I already picked it. So
All
the
right.
new question of the week is, what do people mean when they say something made them feel truly alive?
Oh, that's a very good question of the week. That one's deep. What do people mean when they say something made them feel truly alive? Wow. Daniel, do you want to give us a preview of some responses from next week and answer that for us?
When people say something made them feel truly alive, I think that what they're saying is it made them feel like their life is worth living. That they've experienced something. It's like, all right, this is what we're here for. This is what it's about. Regardless of what that is.
That's a very good response and a very good question of the week. Our TikToker of the week, picked by me. I'm going to give a shout out to our TikToker of the week, Derby City JP. You can find him on TikTok. Just put in the @ Derby City JP. He is our TikToker of the week. I will be posting on the Here To Chew Bubblegum TikTok page later on this afternoon and featuring that. So that is our TikToker of the week. Dirtydan, do you have anything before I move on here? I just want to know if you wanted to ask Daniel anything.
No.
Okay.
I've enjoyed just listening to this.
Because you looked deflated when you found out that it was Jerry Goat Boy Williams and not the Jerry Williams.
I mean,
I see a little shallow atto.
My only question is, why is there 98 people named Jerry Williams then, all in the film industry? But hey, it happens. It is what it is, man. Still got to hear his experience about the movie. That's what we're here for. So
there you go. I do want to very special thanks to our guest Daniel Emery Taylor. Be sure to follow him on TikTok at D Emery Taylor. You can also find him on Facebook and Twitter. Daniel, is there anything that you want to say before we go?
No, I've enjoyed this. I've just had a great time, and I enjoy the free exchange of ideas and everything. And I like that you guys are kind of fostering that here. So I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we would love to have you back on sometime. Rebecca, is there anything that you want to ask or say before we sign off and go?
No, that was it.
Okay. All right.
I was just here for it. No, I asked my question.
Okay.
No, I was just curious that the monologue thing has me intrigued, but I have different questions, but not for the show.
Okay. Well, we can talk backstage. Daniel, just hang around. Don't hop off when we end it here. Again, thank you very much, Daniel Emery Taylor. Be sure to check out his new film, Foxglove Candy, coming soon. You can also check out his previous films. Where can they find those? Can they find those on the web, on Amazon?
It's Just a Game is on Tubi currently, as well as I think you can watch it for free on Vudu with ads. It's also available for purchase on every other platform. So,
well, I want to remind everyone to be sure to check out Just Listen with the Queen of the Flock, Rebecca, on YouTube, and be sure to check her out on TikTok as Flockingqueen and Queen of the Flock 138 on Twitch. Dirtydan.
And as always, we have a couple friends of the show to go check out. CarbonCaptureShield.com from our very own DJ Nikki. Go check out the great things he's doing and spreading. And the shirt I'm wearing, Till Valhalla Project, our Goose's favorite thing to say. Spread the message, spread the awareness, spread the word. You never know when just putting a smile on someone's face can help. And there's no news on the front. However, they have still been releasing their cases that have been backlogged because it's still serving that greater purpose of bringing closure and peace. Go check out Adventures with Purpose, see the latest cases that they solved and have helped people with. And that's it for now.
That'll do it for this week. Yes, Rebecca, go ahead.
I wanted to give a shout out to Fed Up.
Yes, definitely. Because
he does your merch, he does some of my merch, he does his own merch.
Yes, and also he will be on the show tomorrow that we're going to be recording tomorrow evening. You can watch that on Twitch. That show, podcast wise, will be dropping next Sunday on Christmas at 4 p.m. But tomorrow evening, are we starting at 6 o'clock? Is that what we said, or 6:30? I have it wrote down, but you can find us tomorrow here.
Be live for it though, right?
Yes, we are going to be going live with 6:30 here, 6:30 tomorrow evening. Yep. So be sure to join us here again tomorrow on Twitch. That'll do it for this week. But remember, we all have a voice. If we stand together, we can make the world a better place. We'll see you next week. And until then, so long for now.
Maybe I'm not leaving. Maybe I'm just going home.
Lock her out.
Daniel, you want to say anything?
Just everybody, thanks for watching. It's been great.
Thanks for listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum. You can always call, text, or leave a voicemail for Here to Chew Bubblegum at 606-373-3396. Tune in next time as we dive deeper into things the government doesn't want us to know.